How was your Halloween? You coached,
Halloween.
didn't you?
I
Did
was
you
supposed
coach?
to coach, but no one showed up for the 7 o'clock class. Halloween, so got off the hook.
Gentlemen.
Speaking of Halloween, I need to find out how your Halloween went, Travis.
Oh man, busy. I got a lot of kids, a lot of houses, a lot of candy, full-size candy bars from like 5 houses. I was like, man, these are awesome. So then
Oh wow!
I just sneak a couple of those for myself.
Of course.
After the sugar crash sets in.
Yeah, you give them some, and then you just start taking the rest.
I still have all this left over from.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you went trick or treating last night?
What?
No, I didn't. Travis did.
We have what is it? We went to a parade and then like some story time trick or treating a couple weeks ago, and the amount of candy from all of them that was gathered was all the candy that was handed out, and then we still had a whole nother bag that was completely full that didn't even touch. So much candy.
I'm scared to I like to crunch the numbers and stuff. I'm scared to know the amount of candy that is sold and exchanges hands on that night.
I feel like I don't even know if you'd be able to
quantify it.
Yeah, that's a lot.
The real
question, right? It's a lot.
The real question is how much candy is sold the day after Halloween. Because everything's marked down. All the Halloween candy's marked down like half off, or like.
I would hopefully not a lot, but I have a feeling there probably is a lot.
Yeah, come on. I mean, hopefully. I mean, that
stuff doesn't go bad. You could just make your investment for next year, the day after.
Yeah, I just don't want it. I don't want it in the house at all.
Me neither. But there are people out there.
I mean, it's all multiplied by 4, right? Like I got 4 kids, so all of them are loaded up. So it's not like it's just a little bit. It's the entire house.
We were, as you know, I did the premium stream at times throughout the weekend, and Pat Sherwood was the host there. And Pat Sherwood is well known for many things, and one of the things is embellishments of data and stories over periods of time. Every time that you came up on the broadcast, you had more and more kids.
Oh, nice. That was
culminating in dozens.
Patrick was just telling a story out there with Liam, and he's like, last night he had he grabbed these 3 full-size candy bars. The next person was like, he had 4 full-size candy bars, and then he got in the gym. He's like, he had 5, and I was like, Mike. Every time you told the story is different.
Not like something that I saw that I don't think is an embellishment is that you posted that your wife came to watch you compete live for the first time in 7 years.
Yep. Yeah.
And I mean, when I saw her there with you, I made a point to spend more time talking to her than to you, I think, because
good for you.
Would really want to talk to you. But no, because I was thinking, I don't think I'd ever met her before. And then I saw that post and I was like, well, I definitely haven't met her before.
Yeah, you haven't met her. No, she, I mean, the last time was when our oldest son at the Atlanta regional back in the day. So when he was 1, so then she came, and then that was the last time that she's seen like in person. I mean, and usually the thing that's hard is, so she's a teacher, so that her first week back at school is the first week of the games. So like, she's like, I can't miss the first week of school every year. Like this just isn't, I can't do that. So she can't miss then. And then other times, now that we have continued to have kids and more kids, is you can't just leave them with somebody else all the time and get away. And so it just hasn't lined up that it's like actually worked. And then when I qualified, she was like, I might come watch. And I was like, what are you going to watch? She was like at Rogue. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, I would like to come watch in person. I was like, oh yeah, that'd be great. Like, but I in my head, like it's never even been like an option for that to kind of happen. And then so reached out to my parents and were like, hey, would you be able to watch all 4 of them? And they said yes. So it ended up working out, and she got to come watch, which was a lot of fun. So it was nice not having to sit in a hotel room and be bored and twiddle my thumbs for hours on end and have someone to talk to.
Well, I was curious because over 7 years of going to competitions without her, obviously sometimes you have other people there with you, whether they're coaches, sometimes you've competed on teams or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
sure you develop certain routines, and then, throwing her into the mix, she's the most important person in your life. But in that environment, you've come quite used to not having her there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was at first, it wasn't really much of a difference because it just felt like more like at home, which I think almost was like nice. Like it took away a lot of the downtime of, I mean, she didn't even get there till Friday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm still just kind of like by myself hang out. But then there's just times like I would sit there and I'm like, what am I doing? Like I need to do something. And then thankfully they gave us the guitar because I sat there and tried to learn the guitar for hours.
Oh,
And then
wow.
then my fingers started hurting. And I was like, I should probably stop this. Like this is gonna be bad if I like get blisters on my fingers the day before competition because I'm trying to learn this guitar. But that actually helped because it allowed me to do that. If she wasn't there, would you have finished higher or lower at Rogue? Oh, that is a great question.
No, but the answer is the same. He always finishes the same at Rogue.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Oh man, I guess that is actually true. Man, that's a weird statistic once you pulled that out.
I couldn't. I wasn't, because the job that I had wasn't so much focused on the leaderboard necessarily. That stream is more of a just like hanging out and having conversations. So I wasn't like super obsessed with the leaderboard. But when I looked at the end of competition, I could not believe that you were 6th and Jason was 7th.
Yeah.
For everyone who doesn't know, this is Travis's 3rd Rogue. He only competes in the odd years for some reason. Always 6th.
Well, last year would have if I decided to weigh plates correctly. That one was on me.
And then, Jason, 3 consecutive years.
The COVID year.
That was online that year. And Jason, 3 consecutive years and always 7th. And then I don't know for sure, but I don't think either one of you were ever in 6th or 7th respectively at any point until the final.
Yeah, no.
Which is the only time that matters.
In 7th going into Sunday. I think is what it was. Yeah. But no, wasn't in 6th.
So I looked at that. I think Patrick was with me, and I was like,
5th was close.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way. Is this really where these guys finished again? He's like, yep.
Yes. There we are. We're there just hanging out, 6th and 7th.
And I will say, because I have looked at the rosters of athletes over those years, and obviously there have been some athletes who've come and gone, but I feel like this is the deepest men's field that the Rogue Invitational has ever had. And that
there was a lot of shuffling all weekend. I feel like there was never probably not till the very end when Pat had after the deadlift and the sprint one that like he kind of like got a pretty big point separator. But I feel like up to then was pretty close actually.
Yeah, I think he had a 90-point lead at one point. I think the end of Friday. Was it Friday? He had a 90-point lead?
After Saturday.
Yeah, after Saturday. So going into the final day, he had a 90-point lead with 300 points, on the board. You would think that's kind of safe. But Pat always made it interesting.
It definitely was not.
But even that, the rest of the men were after him were still so incredibly tight. And even once everything was said and done, Ricky was in 5th with 565 and Noah was in 10th with 530. Just 35 points. There's less than 1 spot per event between, six guys right there.
Yeah, a lot of little things, little details.
Well, and that's it's actually a great lesson. Like you personally can probably think of a half dozen things that you're like, if only this, over the course of the weekend.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can always do that about pretty much any event or competition. You can always kind of get a few things here and there.
And every one of those guys could probably sit back and do the same thing. If only this, if only that. And it might be something that's super obvious to anyone who was watching, but it might be something that's completely unobvious to anyone unless they have a chance to talk to the people.
Yeah.
Are there anything of those specific things that come to mind for you? Maybe the things that we wouldn't know?
What, of anything in workouts and stuff?
I would just give you an example. Like Ricky after the killer cage workout, he's like, I picked the wrong grips. If I had chosen other grips, I think I would have been able to do better on the monkey bar.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one was definitely like I could have been in the same boat, right? Like the first round felt really good with the grips, and then the second round I felt like I was on ice with my hands. So it just like there was nothing you could do. Then you take the grips off, and then it almost felt worse. And you're like, well, that didn't work. And now my grip's already gone. So now we're going bare hand the next 2 rounds, and there's nothing you can do about this. I feel like the final one, those 2 no reps, cost me potentially at least taking a 5th. Like, I know that. The handstand walk one, like, right, like just a few seconds. It's literally seconds, and you got 3 spots and different things. And I feel like that's kind of how it is always on most of these. But I think the bigger thing is you can't think about that too much, because then it's just like the what if game of, well, what if this happened and what if that happened? It's like, all right, well, you got to move on from that and be able to just execute more efficiently next time and try to eliminate those little hiccups and different things. And then that should get you closer to kind of like the angle of what you're trying to shoot for and go after. It's just being able to minimize those.
When you have had a couple of days and look back at that, we can see your performances there, quite frankly, very consistent performance across, most of the events, and having, kind of established the fact that this was a very deep and competitive men's field. I hear you say, I think I could have gotten 5th, but when you sit back on it, are you proud of this performance and you feel it's a good representation of your fitness? Yeah.
I mean, I think right now, right, like you have the guys that are in front of me were top 3 at the podium at the games a few months ago. And then you have myself and Ricky, who of course got in through the qualifier. But I think it just kind of shows that sitting the whole year out, I wasn't really sure how things would kind of go or be. And then Madrid, of course, was like the first kind of like intro back into that of getting like the full cobwebs out. And then here was like, hey, like this is where we're really going to test ourselves and see how we stack up against everybody, because of course you have essentially the top 20 in the world that are here to throw down and compete, and let's see how you actually are going to do the things you've kind of worked on building up to this point. And I think I'm proud of where it is. I think it's not like, of course, at the end of the day, I had a goal going in and I would have loved to have been on the podium. And I think it was still very close and never lost sight of there was still potential always to happen. And the things didn't line up that I hoped. But at the end of the day, I was still proud of coming back, taking 6, even after some like little hiccups here and there, like staying in it mentally in a good headspace, making the most of it. Just kind of like all the little details of things that make a difference for me were things that I'm taking away that are some pretty good positives.
And, just it's in my mind right now, because you said positives, I guess. We've spoken to a few of the male athletes, and they were regularly talking about the camaraderie amongst the group. And just that there was a pretty positive environment specifically, off the field of play. Did you have a similar experience? And if so, was it like unusually good compared to, you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I think one is yes, I felt like there was definitely kind of a different vibe than some of the years past. I mean, I know for myself, like Will, Noah, and Chandler are all like fairly close. And the fact that like all 4 of us were finally like kind of like back together and like all on the competition floor at the same time, like not someone doing team, someone doing something else, like all of us actually doing that. I know at least in the back, it made it almost just like all the buddies back at the gym, just working out. Like we're all just hanging out in between events, joking, making fun of each other, or kind of like giving each other rides back to the hotel, all those kind of things. And I think it was probably a more relaxed kind of vibe the whole time versus feeling like you're on edge, stressed out the whole time, not enjoying it as much, where then I feel like you start to underperform in that scenario anyway.
And I'm sure that you've made it well aware to those guys amongst the 4 of you who finished highest.
No, I think everybody's got their days of when things
you just say leaderboard. They just have to look at the leaderboard. They know.
That would be a different thing, but we all know and respect each other enough to understand that.
Well, Noah has more or less said that he's done on the individual side, so it might be the last time.
He came back for this. Come on, is he done?
Yeah, You could understand coming back for this one though. He'd already earned his spot. He got the invite. Didn't have
Yeah.
to do the qualifier. It's like you said, it's a unique opportunity. The four of you guys being there, there are a lot of things that make it very understandable. And he obviously is still quite fit. But if that is, if that ends up being the case, that would be the last time that the four of you compete as an individual in the same competition. And so it is nice that you guys kind of got that experience. I mean, I don't know about Chandler, but the other three of you have been doing this at the highest level for a decade.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And it's cool that, and I think, Noah certainly has gotten, I would say the bigger spotlight over his career because of some of his achievements, but you and Will have been in different capacities, there throughout as well. And I think I would take some blame, maybe even not gotten some of the credit that you guys are due, because it's not just the one-off successes. It's not just the one-off successes, but it's the sustained ability to stay competitive and relevant. It's such a physically and mentally demanding thing. And obviously, people, we already mentioned the family situation that you have. I think a lot of people are aware of some of the personal stuff that Will has had to endure over the last couple of years as well. And I mean, it's when you put all that stuff in context, it is really quite impressive what you guys have been able to do.
Well, thank you. I'll take that. I'll take those kind words. Thank you. Do
you not get enough kind words?
I'm going to take those.
He's going to say he doesn't get enough kind words from me.
Yeah, 100%.
I was thinking like Max or Parent or everyone there, they just beat you down.
Yeah, 100%. But I think that's what also allows me to keep going. It doesn't ever allow me to get comfortable.
I'll show you guys.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think part of that is I always have a chip on my shoulder. And I think part of that sometimes is why I do have success and able to keep going. And I think you also have to, if you're going to continue in these sports for this long and do something that you're technically like suffering through for multiple sessions in a day and digging in and trying to constantly keep improving. Like, you always have to have a driver and something else. And I mean, it always changes, but I think it's definitely cool to kind of see how we've all been able to continue to keep growing with the sport. And I think it was funny when we were doing the duel in the back. I finished, I think, the first one, and then we just all got talking, and then Dallin said something. We're like, yeah, back in like 2013 at the games. And he's like, man, I was in 4th grade when you were at the games for your first appearance. And I was like, oh man, I was like, I never really thought I was old till that kind of moment when he just said that. But it was pretty funny of him being in 4th grade and then us competing at the games in 2013.
Both Dallin and Jay Crouch, like Monday, posted a throwback picture from not that long ago that looks like it's from a different time. I mean, I barely even recognized Jay Crouch. It was 9 years ago and he was 15. Now he's, I mean, it's wild, but this is something that, especially on the men's side, is true. Is there's 13 or 14 year age range between the men that we're looking at on the leaderboard there. And all of them are still relevant and fighting, at one of the best competitions we're ever going to see.
Yeah. I mean, what? Vellner's 30s. Adler, is he 30?
Yeah. The oldest guys on this page, I think, is Brent, who's 33, and Travis, who's 33. And the youngest guy is Dallin at 21 or 2. But Tudor,
I know Will's 34.
Yeah.
So,
and then
you definitely got
Tudor and Victor are about maybe 20 and 21.
12, 13.
20, yeah.
It's right. Patrick brought up some of the coaches there at Training Think Tank. Who was coaching you this weekend?
Oh, Maxwell.
And was he also working with Noah?
Yeah. I mean, I think Max is one of those things right now where like we do so much of. It's been 11 years we've been working together, so we kind of have a routine of how we kind of operate. It's very like, I like him there for like the joking, the banter, the trash talk. Like that to me is relaxing and almost like enjoyable and takes some of the stress away. And then when it is time to like talk about the workout, it's like a very brief, short couple minutes. What's your plan? What are you thinking of doing? Hey, maybe not do this, try this. And then like, that's really kind of it from like a super in-depth coaching stuff. Like all the stuff we've done leading up to this, like that's when all his stuff is put to work. And then now it's like, hey, now you go execute and do what you can. But yeah, so that was good old Maxwell doing his thing there, as always, making sure
wonder if I could get away with calling him Maxwell.
I mean, probably. I don't think
you'd have to come and visit him first, Brian.
Yeah.
I do need to get out there. That's absolutely true.
They've invited you on the podcast how many times now? And
yeah, and I'm very close by now. You're embarrassing me, Patrick.
Sorry, I'm just trying. Travis, one thing I do is I try to keep Brian's schedule for him. And as I don't know if you've been following along, he's been on a world tour, obviously, and
a little all over the place. Popular man now.
Yeah, kind of like what I did last year when I drove. Was it last year or 2 years ago when I drove down to Watt? 2 years, yeah. When I drove through Watt, stopped off after before Wadapalooza. I was hitting up all the camps on the way down. I think we're trying to get Brian to do the same. So hopefully
he might be writing too many statistics about it all. So I don't know. Might be too many things that will confuse him and distract him.
Yeah,
honestly,
but Brian, go ahead.
The best part about those things is getting to spend time with athletes when they're not competing, because it's a totally different environment. For the most part, I actually don't like talking to the athletes during competition. I want them to, do their own thing and be in their own lanes as much as they want to. So unless I have a reason to, I usually let you guys be. But
sure.
Not you.
It's like poking the bear.
But this is like you said, 11 years, same coach. You guys fall into your routines. You have a great understanding, and I think that it wouldn't be surprising to too many people to know that when it comes to competition, the most important element of a coach-athlete relationship is probably not the strategy of how to execute, but more of getting the person into the right mindset before and after an event to have the best total product over the course of the weekend. We have seen every single strategy as far as athletes and coaches from people like yourself who've had the same one for the entirety of their career to
there's not many of those.
No, but you see and then we see on the flip side some people that are seemingly changing their environment and strategies
every week.
So
they might change my underwear.
When you see something like that, are you just like, oh, this is like, do you think to yourself, what are they doing? Do you think, well, that's another person I have an advantage over?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the coach hopping thing is one, you have to have time with the coach to actually have an understanding and let them do their thing. Like, it's not an overnight process. Like, it doesn't just magically happen in 3 to 6 months that you're magically going to be transformed because of who you switch coaches with. I feel like if they're the right coach and they understand movement and quality and trying to actually make you better for a longevity and a smart reason, then you should have the right coach. I think a lot of times people get social media happy and just go to brand because that's where social media is going and where the largest following is and where I think they actually think it's going to help them, where in reality, I don't think that's what half of them need. And they need movement work and they need to work on their positions and actually like build up the things they want. But a lot of people don't want to be told like, you move terrible. Like, you are not good at all of these things. And that was one thing with one of my first ever like consults with Max was he was so brutally honest, but I respected it so much. And I feel like that's something he's always been with me, is just like sometimes blunt and how we have grown to communicate, be a little bit better. But I think like I respect that more than trying to just go around and like get certain athletes and be like, oh, well, you guys should come to our camp and do this XYZ, where it's like, look, like you need time to stay with somebody for an extended period of time to actually like see the results. And I think a lot of times people have one bad year or like don't perform to like their standards, instead of like taking the full responsibility and pointing the finger at themselves. It's like, okay, what things can I point out? Okay, well, this was the coach. All right, let me change coaches. This is definitely the reason why. It's not me. Can't be me. And then it's like, oh no, this coach, you know what? Couldn't have been me again. Like, these were just the events. We didn't train any of this. And it's like, you also have to look at from their perspective of there's 10 million movements that we do in the sport. Like, you're not going to get it right. So yeah, some years you're going to be unprepared in certain areas, but you also have to be an athlete and be able to respond to that. And then 2, I think you just have to like trust who you're actually wanting to coach you and understand that they're actually there to make you better. And I think a lot of places have gotten very, what's the word? In the nicest way, just kind of like walked into like the fame and then gotten all these brands. But I'm like, you've never coached. Like, just because you were a good athlete doesn't mean you're a good coach. Not knocking on them, but like, how does that make you understand movement quality and energy systems and everything else, where like you were just successful as an athlete, which is fantastic. But like, I think it's interesting to see what happens as they take athletes from an actual young age and progress them to grow into an actual athlete. Like, you don't take a high level athlete and then just put them under your brand and then say, oh, we've coached them, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, no, they were already good. And then they had an excellent year. Then you take them and highlight them, versus how many people are building them from the ground up, progressing them, keeping them healthy, staying in the program for a long period of time, continually to improve. I think those are the kind of things that are very interesting to me.
Yes, I mean, super interesting. And I have, from an outside perspective, kind of been flirting with this idea that there may be different coaches or coaching programs that are good at different things. And I think,
for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think they're all so different. Yeah.
Well, and I've heard these parallels even to a business world, where there may be some business people that are very good at bringing a brand new, entrepreneurial situation up to X number of dollars, $1 million, $10, $10 million, $100 million that they can bring it to. And then they kind of like cap out there. Yeah. And there's different people. Maybe these are the sharks on the Shark Tanks type thing that can take that $10 million company, that $100 million company, and turn it to $1 billion company. And it's a totally different ball game at that level. And then in the context of CrossFit, that maybe there are programs out there that they'll move the masses forward to a certain extent, but they're going to hit a limit at some point. And then if you have that athlete that's already beyond that level, maybe that's not the best place to refine at the highest level. And there's someone else that might be better at doing that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think it's an interesting world in the CrossFit space, as always. But
if instead of talking to you right now, I was talking to your kids and I asked them, hey, what was your dad doing this last weekend? What would they tell me?
I don't know, I guess the 3 would be like working out. He's at a competition working out. He's doing fitness. But it was funny. We went, oh man, this was hysterical. Last night we went trick-or-treating, and I guess a kid from like across the street came into our neighborhood, and he's friends with my oldest one. And I had like this massive jacket on because it was like 30 degrees in Atlanta that dropped massively last night. But we're walking around, and I come up, and I caught back up because I had to stop at the house and grab something, and they met up. And one of the kids said to Boston, he was like, hey, I thought your dad was like really buff and fit. And I started dying laughing. He's like, I thought he had a lot of muscles. And I was like, you're right. And then Boston's like, take your shirt off, Dad, take your shirt off. I was like, but I'm not taking my shirt off in any of it. But it was so funny that like, I don't know what he tells them at school or whatever, but just like the fact that this little kid who's in 2nd grade is like, I thought you said he had big muscles. And I was like, oh, this is incredible.
Well, it is. I mean, it is wild though. On Sunday night, we went to Terry Black's downtown in Austin, and we saw PKG and Alex Kazan and Yonakoski and Noah and Ricky, and several athletes were there cycling through over the course of the hour or two that we were there. And if you didn't know who they are and they're just in regular street clothes, you really wouldn't know.
No, you have no clue.
Yeah. Like Noah just looks like
everybody thinks, I guess, like probably like what their visualization of like someone really fit and in shape is probably like this super buff guy, like on steroids and like juiced out of his mind, versus like, okay, there's other versions of that. But it was just so funny. He's like, show me your muscles. I'm like, no.
It's like, no, I mean, you're almost expected with like those old weightlifting tank tops or string tank tops.
Just all the time. Yeah.
all the time. And a fanny pack with the Zubaz on or something.
Yeah.
That's the outfit.
Patrick, you're dating yourself. I don't think today's second graders know what the hell you'd even be talking about.
Well, if there's second graders listening to this right now, then we have a bigger problem, I think.
Yeah.
But I encourage second graders
I'd
to
be
listen to
intrigued if they were.
Yeah.
But it's you've been doing this for their whole lives, and at some point they're going to start to really have an understanding of what it is you've done and what it is you've achieved. And I was thinking that maybe the older one or two might be kind of rounding that corner to some extent.
Yeah, the older two definitely do. They have an understanding that, like, I travel to these, I go compete, or they'll just be like, why didn't you win? Or like those kind of comments go back. Valid. I mean, you have a very valid point. Nope, Dad didn't win it. Yeah, I think in probably another like year, the oldest one would probably like fully grasp kind of like what it is. I mean, a lot of times, right? Like, I'm just like, all right, I'm going to work. Like, Daddy's got to go do work. And then the other times it's like, all right, got a competition. And then, well, what are you doing in the competition? Like, I do workouts. Well, isn't that what you do all the time? And I was like, it is what I do all the time. Just those kind of things. But the younger two definitely don't have like a full context of what I'm actually doing. They just see me running around with the shirt off, doing stuff inside the garage, walking on my hands, all the kind of like weird stuff. And then they try it right after that.
Do you ever watch the competitions back with them?
With them? No, I actually don't. I feel like I don't usually watch a ton of them back. It'll just be sometimes if I'm curious of something or wanted to see how it actually looked on camera or how it panned out or those kind of things. I'll watch them, but I guess I actually haven't watched them with them. No.
We did the live stream at Crash Crucible this year, and we streamed all the divisions for as much of the competition as we could.
Yeah.
And there were two brothers, who were competing in the Masters division that they had there. And they reached out to me after the fact and were just like, thank you so much for making this possible. This is something that we can look back at and watch when we're old and laugh about.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Maybe there will be some chances.
Yeah.
Maybe there will be some chances down the line for you when your kids are older and you're not doing this anymore to watch it and kind of reminisce on what it was like.
I think that will be fun to look back, the little like home videos you always have, but this would be like, Dad, this was not you. You couldn't do this. You couldn't lift that. I'm like, well, I bet you I can. But I still got it now. I'm still stronger now. So we're still good. Hasn't all changed.
On that, Travis, how long do you see yourself competing? I mean, do you see yourself being like one of those athletes that just continues to compete as a Masters or
no,
just
no, definitely not. I think whenever my time has kind of come, I know a few people even asked that this weekend. They're like, well, how much longer do you want to go? I mean, I don't know. I think one would be, I'm not going to set a target of when I want to be done, because then I feel like then I'm already kind of checking out mentally from that standpoint. I think I'm going to actually know when it's time. And one, if it's pulling away from the family or I'm just not able to compete, like those are simple reasons of being like, no, I need to step down. I think from this weekend, I still proved that I can still compete with them fine. I'm still getting stronger. I'm still hitting PRs. I'm still doing things that are more efficient than I used to be when I was younger. So I think from that standpoint, I don't think I'm at a place yet where I'm really like contemplating kind of stopping. I mean, and I'm still young. Like, I don't feel like I'm at a place where I think it's good.
You're the youngest guy on this podcast.
Yeah. See, look, where I don't feel like mentally that like processes really. I think when you actually start thinking that way and like making it an excuse, then that's a different story that like lines up for other people of why they can't do something. Where I'm still able to train multiple times a day. I'm still able to recover. Yeah, it might be a little slower, and we adjust some of the training to just suit being able to stay healthier for a longer period of time. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
So this was Rogue Invitation number 3 for you.
Yep.
And you were there on the first one, which was in Columbus. And then this is your second one in Round Rock. Has your experience at Rogue progressed over those 3? Are there things that are like notably different, better, more elevated now than they were back then? or maybe the other way around?
Yeah, I mean, I think one is just Rogue always does like an exceptional job of pretty much making the athletes feel special, treating you like you're a professional athlete, from helping cover with travel, hotels, putting you up in a place. Like those little details of things mean a lot, I think, to all the athletes, of not having to worry about or stress. I think from the competition standpoint, things are usually like, I mean, this was the first year I feel like things definitely didn't go as smooth as possible. But in the years prior, I feel like on the dot, you were going when they're saying you're going, you know exactly your call time of when you're walking. Like they're on the dot with everything. This year, I know the weather changed that. Then there was some lack of communication from the judges team to our team for the handstand walk, just like a lot of little things that just seemed a little sporadic and not as like put together as like usual experiences that I've had. But I mean, it's still way better than 99% of what we usually compete at. It's just like, but those little details are what I feel like separates Rogue from everybody else and always makes it this like spectacle to be there and compete. I think from like a competition level, I think every year is always going to be challenging and hard. I think you're always going to have to work extremely hard, whether that was 4 years ago, whatever, to now. But I think you just got to be ready, and you usually got to be ready for something heavy, odd object, game style is what typically kind of comes up. And that's usually stuff I like. I like the kind of like random out of the gym type of training, which makes it, I feel like, more fun and like actually put your fitness to the test than necessarily always chest to bar pull-ups and thrusters and burpees.
Mhm.
Like we all do those 10 million times. I think it's cool to see new implements, try new things, and Rogue usually does something like that, which always makes it fun.
I actually think that in 5 years, they've never had a single chest to bar pull-up at the Rogue Invitational, which is quite unusual. And
nice.
especially
There's been
because
a lot of burpee pull-ups. We've done a lot of burpee pull-ups. That's a big one that I like.
But the programmers are primarily, well, Katie and then Josh and Chris, and certainly Josh and Chris are ninjas when it comes to chest to bar pull-ups. So interesting that they haven't ever included them.
Which I think is good, right? I mean, they were definitely on the hinging train this year, with the amount of hinging you could potentially do. But I think overall, like, it's always just fun. I always just like the event. I like the heavy stuff. I think it always kind of goes towards the lighter route of everything's always lighter or fast or something, where it's like, no, like it doesn't have to be super long and crazy, but like those 5 back squats at 365 like are not easy, or 375, whatever it was, right? Like doesn't
some people make them look easy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And that's true, but like I think it's always cool when you get some like variety of like what we typically see in the season, right? Like what the Open's going to look like, what regionals is going to look like, what semifinals is going to look like, because they're limited. Like you can only do so many things inside. Like that is what it is. Where Rogue has kind of, they can build whatever they want. They can do endless possibilities because they can make it all, and it's their competition. So like you most likely won't see killer cage stuff. I mean, you guess you could potentially see like some fat bar, wooden pull-ups or something. I guess they could actually start implementing, but I think from like liability and other things, that might not be the safest bet at those other events and competitions. But there's always something new that you haven't usually touched. The fat bells this year,
were those as cool as they looked?
Yeah, they're just different, right? Like, so the weight's just distributed almost like, I don't want to say easier, but like it's a different position because the weight's like all around your hand. Like it doesn't feel like it's on one side or the other when how you catch. It does look funny though with pictures and stuff. I'm like, you do look like you have these little like whole.
It's perfect. That event was perfectly named.
Yeah. Oh, because it's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
It just like, because I didn't know what they were, and I thought it was like another version of a dumbbell, like some strongman, and it was like fatter all the way around or something. Like I didn't know that was even a thing, and then I finally Googled it, and I was like, oh, well, what the heck are these things? But
You going to be investing in a pair?
Yeah, I already bought it.
Nice.
What weight did you go for?
Yeah.
53 and 70, more or less a pair for less than a pair for me to kind of like play around with and start using.
So Max didn't want a pair?
I don't think he wants a pair.
They do make 26 pounds.
Yeah, I don't know if they go low enough for him.
They had them at the Rogue booth where we were doing the premium stream from. They had like one of each of the 6 different weights that they make.
Yeah.
And so I messed around with maybe the 3 lighter ones that they had up there just to kind of feel how it was. I actually did that workout yesterday, the Hulk hands with kettlebells and just a sled pull. I didn't go to a hill or anything like that, but it was pretty fun. It was
a cool workout. I mean, it was definitely interesting when it started to rain very quickly as soon as we started to go out there. But I think it was a cool kind of vibe out there when it was like raining. Like, yeah, look at us. But
well, we talked about it on the stream. Like when you play sports, it rains sometimes.
Yeah,
and a lot of sports still play through the rain, and quite frankly, they produce some of the greatest memories.
Usually a little more dangerous in the rain, but yeah, I mean, I get the concept of.
Were you guys? I mean, but it seems to me. I mean, everyone was safe, thankfully, coming out of that. But it feels like something that after having done it, while you're in it, it's one thing. But after the fact, that you can kind of look back and maybe be like, "Damn, that was pretty cool," and kind of reminisce and tell stories with each other about that experience.
Yeah, that one was cool. The Killer Cage one kind of wasn't because it was so much dictated by the lane, the slickness. Like that was a little frustrating because I feel like that workout would have been completely different for I feel like a lot of athletes and the outcome of what actually took place. But you know what? That's athletics and that's sports and that's everybody had to deal with it the same. So it's just being able to wrap your head around this.
You've competed all over the world. You've been doing this for a long time. Do you think this is the most challenging conditions that a competition has had to deal with weather-wise that you've been a part of?
Oh, for sure.
And I think that that's important.
Like in Dubai, it's always sunny, right? Like it doesn't rain there. They make it rain. So I mean, there it's completely normal. I feel like Wadapalooza is probably the closest other one that's definitely gotten destroyed in the years past with rain or something else.
Yeah.
But much other than that, I feel like they're usually indoors or kind of like at different times that it isn't impacted too much. I'll be curious what their kind of like feedback is going to be going into next year. If they're going to put like a tent over the field just in case, if they're going to, like at a wedding tent, like those massive wedding tents, like something just over the middle, or if they're going to move it to indoors. I mean, I think the rain definitely threw them all off of all of it, from how everything typically runs to what it did happen. So I'll be curious what next year kind of looks like with rain and things that happen this year.
Yeah, you mentioned Wadapalooza, and from my experience, at least, they oftentimes do get rain, but it's usually like for a couple hours on one of the days.
Yeah.
It's not
Florida. Yeah.
It's not every day for the whole competition. Like there was an element of weather that was a concern or a factor. I think Thursday, I think we were pretty much okay on the run by the time it got to then, but it was raining earlier in the day.
Yeah. I mean, I remember even running into the field, like the foot tracks from where the females went before, like there was just like mud and dirt that was sliding in. And I mean, but then it felt like every other day after that, it was rain to some degree. And then Sunday it dropped 30 degrees or whatever it did. That was super quick and it got super cold very quickly.
And it's not just like the competition. It's not just the workouts. Like you mentioned, there are a lot of different groups of people that need to know what's going on. And there's also a lot of electronics involved in broadcasting an event like that.
I forgot the clock or time, whatever thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The scoring, the clock on the field, drone, cameras, wires, like all of those things, every group of people that's responsible for having all those flawless executions in terms of timing that you have experienced when there haven't been those challenges at Rogue became, not so straightforward.
Yeah.
And I think that especially to get, for someone who's been there and done this for so long as you have, to acknowledge that, this is about as bad as I've ever seen, if not the worst I've ever seen. So you can maybe have a little bit of grace and also appreciation for what they were able to pull off given
for
the
sure.
challenges.
I mean, and I think the thing is, right, it's still the same for everybody, right? Like, I think it is nice that it is only 20 people, right? Like, there's not 10,000 other divisions that are taking place and all impacted by that. And I mean, some events in Wadapalooza had to be canceled because of the rain and different things, right? Like, so what they were able to do and handled and how they take ownership, I've always respected. And I think that's like the big separator. I think it just was like things that were out of their control, they weren't as prepared for, that happened, but not, I mean, it's still Rogue. Like, they still always do an awesome job and made sure it all happened and made sure we all got to compete. And regardless if it was different, it still was run pretty dang smooth for how everything kind of operates.
Any other big picture or small picture takeaways from Rogue? Athlete side, just the overall experience.
The food.
Yeah, no, my chicken and rice. I'm pretty boring and bland.
No Texas barbecue for you?
We did when we saw you at Terry Black's on Sunday when it was over. But other than that, no. Usually just I'm not eating barbecue before. Definitely not. I don't.
No Round Rock donuts?
Nope. I feel like Chandler can get away with eating that stuff, man. Guy can consume whatever he wants and then still performs like a machine. And I'm like, I can't do that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything else that's like really standing out now that I'm like thinking about it.
I have something.
Yeah.
Deadlift.
Yeah.
How close, or did you set up the yard? I mean, you seemed very excited on that your last two, it seemed like. I mean, probably more excited than I've seen you in a while. So.
Like 98% sure I pulled 565 here before, or it was 560. And then, so that was a 10-pound PR. So I was pretty fired up to hit that. Awesome. And I don't remember the last time I hit like a full blown PR in a competition. Like, I guess snatch when I hit 300, that was probably like the last other time that I hit like a big PR in an event. So like that one I was pretty happy with. And then it's just a bummer that like on a tiebreaker, you're losing out on like valuable points there.
There's your 10 points right there.
Look, I know. Well, I appealed the final workout and they gave me 5 or 6 seconds, which would put me third. But they never adjusted it. So then I think that would actually be me tying Ricky, but I think he'll take the tiebreaker from having an event win. But I'm still content with what I did and how it all kind of unfolded. But I was just glad they went back and reviewed it and gave me the credit where it was due. I think that's also one thing that they do a good job of, like, hey, you have these 2 pretty much yellow flags that you can pretty much throw and appeal. And then if you are right and we were wrong, you keep it. If we're right and you're wrong, we take one of those away, which I think is like a fair game and to be able to use it wisely when you actually need it. But yeah, it was as soon as I walked off the floor, I pretty much was like, Rob, we need to review this like right now. Like you're talking money on the table. So they went and reviewed it. So it worked. I was glad it panned out.
Yeah. The difference between, I mean, it's $3,000 essentially. Yeah. Between each place until you get
another $1,000. So then you're like, all right, well, there's $4,000.
Wait, say that again. Say that again.
The event, if you take like third, you get paid out per workout.
Okay. I was actually talking to someone earlier today and we weren't.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah. So you get paid out per workout, top 3.
So 3, 2, 1, like the games?
No, it's not that. It's a little less.
Okay.
I'd have to look it back up, but somewhere in that, from like 2,000 to 1,000, somewhere in there. But like, right. Like, so then you say, all right, well, there's another 1,000 for that. And then just like the little things that add up of it, of like, all right, well, then you're looking at a few more $1,000 for sure, which still goes a long way for
especially
everybody.
when you have 4 kids. Yeah, especially when you have 4 kids.
Yeah, I mean, it's for all of us. It all adds up, and you work really hard for those few seconds. And if it comes down to a judge's hand, like holding that and calling a no rep and whatever else, I think that's when it's like frustrating. I mean, the first one I went back and watched and was accurate. Like that was the right call. The second one definitely was not. I think it's one of those things, and I hate the watching face on. I'm like, we all know movement and you all understand, like you can't see depth straight on from the hip crease, especially that kind of like speed of how fast we're going and completing 30 cleans and 200 and whatever double unders in that amount of time, right? Like you just need to be, the judge needs to be set up in a place of like at an angle where you're actually able to see and can make that call like that fast. I mean, face on, it's just too hard of a standard, but I get for like safety reasons for why they're not on the side based off of where we actually were for that final workout. But overall, I feel like the judging standard was held very well across the board kind of all weekend.
Yeah, I know a lot of those judges. It's a super experienced judging team. A lot of them travel far to be there.
Yeah.
I didn't actually go down there into that area for the final at all. It was obviously incredibly packed.
Yeah.
What was the environment like for you? Like, was that actually a pretty cool place to do a workout?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a very open-esque, like what you watch on like the game stuff, like very close, like there's a gate, then your judge, and then your bar. Like it was within 10 feet. Like it's all very close. You hear everybody else. Like I heard Noah screaming more the whole time throughout it than anybody else. Come on, man, pick up the rope, smooth, just yelling the whole time. And, like, right, like
that's a good impression.
Out on the floor or anything. Because just how much further away everybody is. So it was definitely had that open feel, which was, I think, almost with that fast and how quick of a workout was, made it almost like more exciting to like watch and be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, like I said, in that environment, but from where I was watching, I can't remember the last time I was more nervous and excited for a final event than I was watching the women's final, where all of the podium spots were tied going into it. The 1 and 2 was tied, 3 and 4 was tied. You didn't know what was going to happen. And it was.
I guess I never really paid. I knew Tia and Laura were tied. I didn't know anybody else. I mean, we didn't like in those scenarios. You're not really paying attention to the other side as much. But I didn't know 3 and 4 were tied. Man, that's crazy. So who was 3 and 4?
It was Gabby and Emma Lawson.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And so, and Laura ended up pulling away from Tia just at the end. And actually, Emma passed Tia as well and finished second. Tia took third. So, but just the way that it was playing out, I mean, you didn't know. It was a true winner take all for first. It was a true winner take all for third. And a lot of drama. And I like all of them, so I didn't have like necessarily.
I mean, it definitely makes it way more entertaining. Right, like that that whole thing makes it way more entertaining as it kind of unfolds. Yeah, I know that guy.
That's you. Yeah, that's you. And then on the men's side, I thought that it was kind of a done deal going into it, but Pat always has a flair for the dramatic. And
man, way to cut it close, huh?
And then on the same thing in the third and fourth place, it was unclear at first what had happened, and it ended up being quite dramatic as well. I was actually on the desk for that, and we're like, I'm pretty confident that Pat did enough, but I wasn't like tracking everyone's times from the previous heats because
I have no clue. Yeah,
I was like, I think he's like 15 points clear, maybe. I don't know.
And I remember watching last year when he went for it, and then came up short.
Well, and that the thing is that
wanted to make sure that one wasn't happening again.
No, but when he had that bar, when he missed a rep, and then he cleaned the next rep because the clean wasn't the issue for him at all. Before he did the final jerk, he had this look on his face, like he was like, I felt like he was almost, because he was facing the field. You couldn't really see it, but I thought he was like almost seeing a ghost of last year. And I was like, please, God, just get this bar overhead. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want this for you again.
Yeah. I think everybody wanted that.
And, you know, it was, he was that close. We talked about how small the margins can be. And I did a study on this last year. Everyone knew what happened with Pat, but actually in the case of Jeff, if he'd lifted the log one more time last year, he would have been the champion. Like that's what's going on in the men's field right now, is that one thing here or there can dictate 3 spots on a leaderboard
Very quickly. Doesn't take much.
Did you play Guitar Hero at check-in?
I did.
Who'd you beat?
Chandler. But to him, he was like, I'm missing a finger, man. I can't play with the song.
It's true. He is missing a finger.
So we like started, and then after like a minute in, he's like, dude, I can't do this.
Had he ever played before?
I don't know if since his finger, if he has, but then he played again after me with Noah and then switched hands. So then he played with his right hand and strummed with his left. But yeah, it was funny. He's like, oh, this is stupid. So I can't even touch the key. From that standpoint, I won't take the victory over him on that one. I'd have to rematch with the right arm.
Well, and you know, it's like I think most people know that he's missing that finger, but it never comes up in conversation. And it never has once been an excuse that he's used or anyone else has used on his behalf. It's so much so that you forget that it even is part of it.
Except for in Guitar Hero now, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, no one's thinking about it when he's deadlifting 610 pounds. So I think he's doing just fine with that.
That was, I mean, that was wild. I thought that 400 and 600 were the thresholds that we'd be looking for. 4 women hit 400 pounds, but he was the only guy to clear 600, and he did it more than once.
Yeah, he was like, I want to do another one. And we all kind of looked at him like, what?
Wow.
He's like, I want another one. He's like, okay. I don't know, man. I don't know why. You got the win. Take it.
He's always the entertainer.
Yeah. I mean, he put on a show. But man, that was very impressive. It was a lot of weight.
What's up in the upcoming weeks, months for you?
Let's see. Pretty much now, just kind of like relax, deload, just use the next couple weeks to kind of hop into random things, no like real structure with training. We usually just do that just post comp, just to kind of like allow my body and like the weird soreness to kind of like get out, flush out on its own. And then probably like beginning of next week into next week, we'll start to like actually start training. So then we'll get ready for Wodapalooza. I'm doing team and individual. So then those would be kind of like the next two kind of, or I guess kind of like one event that we'll do. And then I guess really after that is the season kind of begins. At least we think it begins, or whatever. Who knows what CrossFit's doing, but the plan will be to just get ready for that. Got invited to Dubai and stuff, but just with travel and Christmas and being gone for that long, it is a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you did Madrid, you did Rogue. You're going
I mean, those two are back to back, and then knowing I was already trying to do Wodapalooza, I was like, by the time I would do Dubai, get back, settled in again, it would be like turning over and leaving right again. So I like to have at least a little bit of breaks, because the season does get long when we do actually start. So yeah, plan will just be Wodapalooza right now.
Same team?
No, it's actually a different team.
Oh,
okay. Well, you don't have to tell us who it is if you don't want to, but I was going to ask if, because you guys had been the champions 2 years ago.
Yep, we were. And then this year, Noah, I know, of course, everybody knows, is going team. And he wanted to train with his teammate that he's going to be doing the season with. And then him, Chandler, and Tola are doing Australia. And then I said just to you guys continue to keep going, because they didn't really want, Noah was really wanting to work with Tola and at Wodapalooza and stuff. And I pretty much was just like, look, you guys train and like you'll already do Australia together, that like I'll just step out, and like no hard feelings. Like it's okay.
And there are other people that wanted you?
Yeah, I know. Surprisingly, right? I know. I'm not that bad. So, yeah, I guess I can say. I don't know. Maybe.
It's we don't like to put a pressure on those things with anyone.
No, I don't really care. It's me, Vellner, and Will Morad.
I was wondering if Will would be potentially someone that you would do that with.
So me, Vellner, and Morad will be the team going for it. So it should be a good time.
So you just picked someone from the championship team last year.
Well, he was already picked. Oh. From the
with Pat. Yeah.
Like, clearly he's got it figured out. We didn't. No. Yeah, it was pretty much just like I knew me and Will were like, all right, let's do it. And then kind of was like, all right, well, this should be fun. So I reached out to Pat and I was like, you got any plans? And he's like, I don't think we're doing it the same team we did have. So I'm kind of like, figuring out what I want to do. And I was like, well, hey, buddy, you want to be on a team? And then, so it's all the old guys.
Is that what your team name is?
I don't know yet, but we should be the old guys is what it should be.
Shouldn't be the boys. I mean, you guys are the boys. I mean,
salt and pepper. Yeah, just all the just something with.
There's got to be something fun that you guys can come out with there, and I'm expecting you to have.
That's pretty good at that stuff of coming up with some comical names. So I'm guaranteeing it'll probably be something good.
Okay, well, we're expecting cover name and fun and a fun outfit.
Yeah. There'll be some things planned. We've already been talking about it.
And look, dude, I was actually was looking through the teams of 3 from last year at Wodapalooza, and I mean the caliber of teams that were competing there is insane. And the team that got second last year was Roman, Jay, and Willie, and this year they're also making a replacement, and it's going to be Medeiros replacing Roman. So it'll be Medeiros, Jay, and Willie. John wasn't in the team competition in the past, so
it should be a good time then.
Some people coming, some people going.
The Futurist now should be the team name. That's a good one.
No, what you guys should do is put it to the fans. Like
let the fans decide the name.
Yeah, three different ones. Put it out there as a poll and let them vote on it.
Yeah, that'd actually be pretty comical to see.
At least you'd have. Hey Travis, before we let you go, you have a couple. Can you answer a couple fan questions? Don't worry, I vetted them.
Yeah.
First training partner like Raptus, invigorate Travis. Is it a good challenge to push each other? I also want to throw in Ashley Wozni. I'm sure you probably have a good Ashley Wozni story too, but I
mean, Ashley's got all sorts of stories. She's a character, and every day I feel like there's a different story with her. But it's always hysterical and almost like mind blowing to a degree. I mean, me and Alexis have trained together for a while now. And I think we definitely both just push each other in a lot of different areas of like my strengths versus her weaknesses and whatnot. It's kind of like a brother-sister relationship of like, I make fun of her the whole time, but then at the end I'm like rooting for her and cheering her on. But no, this is still my house and I still try to win all the time we're in here. So I make sure that's always trying to happen. But no, she's definitely very fit and getting back in shape again. So I'm going to take some downtime and then we'll see who can start taking some W's. I rack up those W's. I try not to give away the L's.
And then not really a question, but met Travis weekend. He signed a flag, Brian.
Yep.
So I don't know if you remember. Yep.
I do. I remember it. The guy was standing over by the athlete area when we were walking out.
I signed the flag as well, so it's very valuable.
Yeah. You might want to just highlight or cross out Brian's name, but other than that, it should be fine.
But I think that's all we had. All the other ones.
That's all the fan questions.
That's it, baby. There's only 2 fans out there. Only 2 fans. Love it.
Only 2.
Love it.
You love it. No, but no, we really look forward to seeing. I mean, just watching you at Madrid and how you kind of just like bounce back and kind of, after a tough season and then just coming back to Madrid and your performance at Madrid and then this kind of reaffirming it. It's been awesome watching you. And like I said, the moment 6 in my head is that deadlift because just you could see how excited you were after you hit that. And I don't know, I thought just being in the crowd and I thought it was really cool. I mean, that setup, even though you're in a baseball field, it's still, I think that setup still feels like it's intimate.
Yeah.
And
No,
that
it was
fans
cool.
feel like,
I mean, I feel like anytime, right? EPR, it's always a good moment and can't complain. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a fun kind of like journey back of seeing where we kind of stack up. And now I think it just kind of reinstills all the things I'm doing are on the right track. And now we just get ready for the season.
Yeah. Well, we'll try to make it down here soon and visit you guys and check out I know I've been down there, so we just got to get Brian down there sooner than later.
One day he can do it.
Travis, I'm getting ready to release a top 200 men rankings in the world.
Oh, geez, get this out of here! I don't want to read this. I don't want to read.
Are you expecting
where would you rank?
I don't even expect to be on it. I feel like my expectations now with you are like just don't even expect it. So I'm gonna expect I'm probably 201 is what you have me ranked as. And then if it's based off of last year, right? There's no criteria of where I would stack up. So yeah, no, I'm expecting I'm at least I'm top 1,000. I would assume from your stats.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait to the Open to see whether you're even that good.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
Because the Open matters. The Open matters.
Yeah, it does.
Well, there's your one fan.
Did you buy one of the Travis Mayer top 5 t-shirts?
You better have.
How much did you pay Tyler Watkins for that campaign?
You know what's funny is nothing. Because I didn't even know about it. Then people coming in the gym. Where'd these come from?
I think between Tyler and Sevon, you have a pretty good, a really good fan base out there.
Yeah,
some good hype.
I like them. It's fun. Brian, not as much, but it's a good thing. I'm just kidding.
Well, dude, thank you for taking the time.
Well, of course.
I'm glad that you had a good Halloween with your kids, and it is great to have you back in the competition scene. You're one of the best that's done it for a long time, and I know that the time comes to an end for everyone at some point, but it is really cool that a bunch of you guys who've been doing it for a while are still capable of throwing down with these young guys and showing them what's up sometimes
We're still
too.
Kicking, baby. We're still kicking.
Do
it ain't
do
taking
it for the old guys.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on, man. It's good chatting as always. Hopefully we'll catch up soon, and hopefully I'll be in that top 200 list somewhere.
I think I can make that happen.
All right. Just at least it's on there. If anything, just make a joke about it and put me at the very end.
200. All right, Travis. Have a good afternoon, man.
See you guys.
See you.
Take care, Brian. Travis. Take care. Oh.
Travis,
one of the good dudes in CrossFit. There's plenty of good dudes in CrossFit, but Travis is definitely one of them.
Yep. And when we reached out to him and asked him to do this, and he was like, yeah, let's make it happen. So thankful for him taking the time. Obviously, he's always has a ton of stuff going on. But it is cool to have him back in the mix, and no real reason to think that he won't continue to be competitive. He, I think, made a good decision last year to manage his body and his health and his life, and got the fire still to go out there and do it. It's not easy to do, but he's still getting it done.
And I think that's something where we have that responsibility to let people know that, because he was kind of under the radar about his struggles with the injury and stuff like that, and he thought about hanging it up. So I think when if I don't doubt he's going to have a really good season, I think, but that definitely needs to be recognized that he did the smart thing, like you said. Barkley, being a good dude doesn't put you in the top 200.
Otherwise, Barkley would be in there.
Exactly. That's what he's saying. He's talking from experience. Oh, man. By the way, Barkley, great job with the B.Friendly stats this weekend. So, yeah. While I have you on here, let's talk about what we just released. Let me talk about this real quick.
Oh, like the
story you just wrote?
Yeah. I don't think it's actually up on this one. You might need to refresh that page.
Oh, I need to refresh it. It just needs to be refreshed. 1 second.
Yeah. So
your first one of 2 parts. Off-season World Tour Memoirs, Rogue Invitational, part 1 of 2. So
yeah, Rogue's a big, it's a big one. It happened to be stop number 10 on the tour, and there's this, the best athletes in the world. It's it's one of the bigger competitions in terms of the number of events that they have, caliber of athletes, and so we're going to do a little two-parter there. Of course, I had to work some disc golf in, but actually, compared to a lot of the other ones, there's a decent amount of data that we've pulled, statistical analysis of some of the events, some kind of fun studies that we did. So the first one will take you through 4 or 5 of the events. I think 4. And then Barkley wrote an article specifically about the Dual 3. If you haven't checked it out, it's a good history and also evaluation of what the progression of the rounds was like, what the impact of the bye is on that event. So you can check that one out there. And then the second part that will come out will be 6 through 9. Taking a look at that, and then kind of just some of the other stuff that happened throughout the course of the weekend. So this one's up there now. You may have seen it already on Instagram, some like teasers, but full things online. And then part 2 will be up later in the week.
Yeah, it was very interesting when I was reading the comparison between the seat at the bar and ski bar. I thought that was pretty interesting analysis there. So, yeah, so go ahead and check that stuff out. There was an Instagram post, kind of like a sneak peek on all of that. So, but we have some other stuff coming out this week as well. I know Barkley's got a couple other things. Kind of recapping his friendly facts from this past weekend. I know we put them up in the story, but we have them all wrapped together. It'll probably be up tomorrow, and then Brian part 2. And I don't know if there's anything else, but I know we have a lot of interviews that we still are going to put out, and Sebs from Iron and Castle is finishing up some reels and some highlight reels. So we got a lot of cool stuff. And you have an easy, like I think we talked. Yeah, go ahead.
No, and those interviews that you did with the athletes, it's great to hear from so many of them, and we're appreciative of them giving us a minute here or there before or after events to just kind of check in and see where they're at. We didn't want to necessarily roll every single one of them out at the same time, just because you can kind of get lost in the shuffle of everything that weekend. So we've got a couple that we've held on to that we're going to be putting out over the next couple of days as well.
I am proud about the Laura Horvath one, though.
Well, she's not.
I've never interviewed her
down, but it's always great to hear from her.
Yeah, I've had conversations with her, especially at Dubai. Dubai is usually when it's kind of where I've seen her and interacted with her, but to actually interview her was kind of different, especially where they had the last event and you had to walk back to the locker room. They didn't have athlete control at that final event, so athletes were just walking back. So I was walking. She was leaving the warm up area after she got her belt and everything, and I asked her, I'm like, "Do you have time for an interview? I'll walk with you. We'll walk and talk." She's like, "Yeah, no problem." But she was getting stopped like every, which is great, and it's so awesome that she was doing that. She stopped and signed autographs and took pictures. She didn't turn away, and that's what made me ask the question, like how she feel about being a role model now. And she says she just doesn't know yet, but I hope she does. I mean, I think she's a great ambassador. I don't know how many interactions you've had. I know you have a lot more interactions with Christoph, her brother. But her, I think she's just a great person, and she's someone I think that's just going to keep on, not just as an athlete, but also as a person and a personality, just keep on blossoming and being more comfortable, and hopefully do more interviews, at least with us. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this weekend you're going to a football game. I'm jealous.
Clemson, Notre Dame.
Yeah. Are you what you're going with J-Hop and who else?
I know JR is going, and I know we have 4 tickets. Yeah. I would assume that Jason's going, and I think Taylor Wade is probably the other one, but not 100%.
Hopefully you get the field pass access too. Like, before, sometimes they let friends and family or come down to the field during warm-ups. That's always fun, especially in that stadium. It's really cool. You get to see the Rock and then walk out. That walkout for Clemson is probably one of the more impressive ones. and then to play someone like Notre Dame, yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's a very important game for both teams because both of them are, I mean, Clemson right now is 4-4, and I think Notre Dame's 6-2, maybe 5-3 or something like that. So,
okay.
But all right, that's my Clemson Notre Dame recap for you, or preview for you, Brian.
You'll know better than me about that one.
Yeah. I told you one of these days we're gonna do a spinoff where it's just sports. I've been watching so much Pat McAfee. I'm inspired. I just got to find the perfect co-host. It'll be a spinoff of this. But
okay.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, everyone that tuned in, thanks for tuning in as always. The support. If you want to support us even further, you can subscribe to be a Patreon. If we have different levels out there for every price point, and also just subscribing, liking, and commenting on all our social media channels, whether it be YouTube, Instagram. That does so much for us as well. So we appreciate everyone that's out there, and those who have been buying merchandise and asking about merchandise, who can get at Rogue. If you're in Tempe, Arizona, in a couple of weeks, and where else?
Charlotte Classic.
Yeah, we will have merchandise. Our merchandise there, especially these hoodies and World Tour shirts and hoodies. So that's a good way to support us as well. So again, appreciate everyone for tuning in, and next week we hopefully will have Alex Gazan on, and that's all I have. Brian, you get the final word.
Nope, I think you said it well. And then if it's cumbersome for you to keep up with everything as it's coming out, we have our newsletter that comes out on Fridays, and people who are subscribed to that, we're planning to have a few kind of special giveaways associated with that over the next weeks and months as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, be friendly, our friends.